This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
You don't need to be ripped. You just need the right shirt. Epic Fits gives you a clean, confident silhouette, snug on the arms, soft on the skin, generous where it counts. And with deals like $15 per tee, they won't break the bank. Visit epicfits.com today. Epic Fits. T-shirts that get it.
America's mystery cards are back, and we are bringing them to you all summer long. Come grab yours at KFAN events throughout the summer, and wherever you see our KFAN street team, then make sure to redeem them at Mall of America for fun prizes and big discounts. See full list of events at KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Second hour of Bumper to Bumper, Cake Show edition. Guardsy in for Dan today. Got a text to the Bradshaw and Bryan KFAN text line 64686 a while ago. Said, missed the open. What's Dan's affliction today? Well, if you heard him yesterday, you know he has bilateral voice weakness. His voice was not going to hold up, barely held up yesterday. Brett and I got the text mid-morning this morning that says, you're up. And I thought, you know what? It's been a while. It's been too long since we've had the house band of the Cake Show all those years, Pat Micheletti on the Connecticut Water Systems hotline. There's a lot of stuff to talk to him about in the hockey world, but I just want to hear his voice as a friend, and he joins us now. How are you, house band?
Well, it's been too long.
It has been.
There's no question about that. And when I got the text this morning, I was happy. I'm like, yeah, I haven't talked to JG in a long time. So it's great to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time. If people have text questions for Pat, Bradshaw and Bryan KFAN text line still open, 64686. Got kind of a toss-up out of nowhere for you. We just spent 30 minutes reacting to a Myron Medcalf Star Tribune piece about kind of the road trip phenomenon, like when you were a kid, what you did on a road trip compared to what our kids are doing now, and the internal battle that we have with all of those things. Before you came on, Pat, I said the Micheletti road trips with all those Michelettis. Like, you've got to have some stories of life on the road growing up in the 70s. Tell me a little bit about what you remember about a Micheletti road trip.
Well, my father worked 6 days a week. There were 9 kids in a 3-bedroom house that was shared by all of the brothers, except my sister had my sister shared a room, and my parents shared a room, and the boys were in the basement. So our road trips, our biggest thrill and road trip was maybe driving 70 miles to Duluth to go to Target.
Yep.
That was it. And we didn't have any. We didn't go on any trips.
Sure.
And, that's just the way it was back in the day. And, there was no spring what? Spring break. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And no one in my family and none of my friends, not that's how it was up on the Iron Range back then. So not a ton of stories. Going to the lake,
Yep.
A little 15-minute drive out to McCarthy Beach State Park, but other than that, Justin, we were all so busy with our individual sports.
Yep.
And, running here and there and that was it for us. That was our enjoyment.
Well, that's kind of our situation now. Was last week, those last 2 weekends, when we looked in like April, and that's a whole nother hour of a show. Mm-hmm. I looked at my wife and said, if you'd like to do something this summer, we're available June 30th to July 5th. That's our vacation. Yeah. Like, that's where the kids don't have stuff. That's where you and I don't have stuff. Because you get busy, and all of a sudden you realize we could let the whole summer pass us by. We got to go do something. And for us, it was just popping up to the North Shore to see my in-laws, and then popping over to Wisconsin to see my aunt and uncle and that side of the family. But there is a lot of truth to that. Like, that's a whole nother thing of you do have to make time almost to get away and do something, especially now with how busy kids are.
Yeah. And it was like, my mother would send us off during the day and said, just be home by dinner time, in small town Hibbing. And she was off running to every event of, because of different ages, different times, either at the rink or the baseball field or wherever that, wherever it landed, was what we did. And, listen, it was the best. It was the best growing up then.
So what was the car situation? What was the seating chart in the Micheletti vehicles with everybody? Like, how did that, obviously with 9 kids, not everybody's always going to be there every single time. But if you did need to load up, like who sits where? How did that work?
Great question. My dad had a truck and then we had we had a number of different cars, whatever, but it was basically, you're on your bike and you go, okay? And then in the wintertime, my mother used to get up. She had 2 stations, let's say, all right? She'd get one group up early in the morning. They would go to school earlier than the elementary school kids, the ones that were in high school. And so she would get up, make their lunches, get them up, make them breakfast. My dad would bring them, or they'd jump on the bus and go to school. And then there'd be a second wave of the younger ones, which me and my sisters and one of my older brothers. And then we'd get up in the same regiment every day in the winter. And that's the way it was. And my dad would bring one group to school, the others would go on the bus, and that was it. It was mass chaos.
I believe it. What was your dad's job?
My dad ran a furniture store in Hibbing, Ace Furniture, part of the Cordell chain on the Iron Range in Grand Rapids, Virginia, blah, blah, blah. And so that's what he did. And he worked 6 days a week, sometimes 7 days. And my mom stayed at home, and somehow, some way, we made it. I don't know how, because hey, listen, I grew up with all hand-me-downs. I had my first pair of skates, which my brother Tom, the oldest, bought for me when I was 3. But then after that, after they got too small, I was wearing whatever was left in the junk drawer, and that's how it was. And, didn't think anything different of it, and just went and played. That's all we wanted to do.
That's the best. That's the best. All right, here's the quote from Lou Nanny yesterday. I want your reaction to it. He joined Dan at 5:00. The longer it goes, the less I like it. He wasn't talking about the length of one of Dan's questions. He was talking about the delay, if you even want to call it a delay, in the Wild signing Kirill Kaprizov. Your reaction to that quote and comment?
Well, I agree with him, and I don't think it's as much as, hey, we can't settle on a contract. I think he's sitting back. I think his agent's sitting back. I think he's sitting back and saying, okay, what type of team am I going to have to play on? And so to me, they've made it crystal clear they're going to pay him whatever he wants. And, unless it gets in 20 million, 18 million, whatever. So, but yeah, I would do the same thing if I were him. If I'm there truly, to, like all athletes want, is a championship. Sure, they want the money, but they also want a crack at winning a championship, because there's nothing like it in sport than winning a championship. You can throw MVPs, you can throw leading scorers, you can throw whatever you want out there to an individual. Nothing matters more than winning a championship. And so I think he's seriously looking at it. And why wouldn't you? The cap is going to be going up. He's got other Russian friends in the league. His best friend plays for the New York Rangers and is probably the top 3 goalie in the world, and Shesterkin. So yeah, I would be concerned. Now, if Bill Guerin makes a splash, which I've been begging for, via a trade. We knew, and listen, I agreed with everything. I'm not high on the Tarasenko signing, but
we'll get to that. Yep, we'll get to that.
I get it, but don't spend money on someone that you really don't want. And so I understand that, but I'm really, really hoping that he thinks outside of the box and makes a deal that is going to excite not only Kirill, but the people in Minnesota.
Now, Russo's trying to calm everybody down and say, look, there's been some high-profile players that have been eligible for the same type of extension that Kirill is up for, that it takes a while. These things take time. I think the hard part, though, Pat, is as well as anybody how long Wild fans have been waiting for the summer of 2025 for a lot of different reasons. And I think we understand why it hasn't been the free agent spending spree that we all thought it would be, because you do have some guys that you've already signed. You want to save some money for Kirill, the whole bit. But I guess it's hard to tell Wild fans to be patient at this point after the last handful of years. And when you felt like the rhetoric the entire year, especially with Bill and with Craig, even Leopold saying, yeah, well, we can pay him the most money and we're prepared to do that, and that's good. And Bill said on Dan's show, I think 10 out of 10 was his confidence level that they'd get Kirill signed. So I think that's why people are a little bit confused that we're about a week into this thing, and we were kind of hoping we'd have a 4th of July surprise like we did back in 2012 and Parise and Suter were coming.
Here's what bothers me about the current state of the team. And my biggest concern is our decor and the health of it and the age of it and the size of it. And this is to take nothing away from what players have done in their career. It's where they're at in their career and the injuries that are, happening year in and year out. That's one concern. My second concern is that I get tired of people saying, well, we can't get rid of him, or we can't get rid of him, or we can't get rid of him. And I come back with, well, why not? Mm-hmm. We haven't won. We haven't gotten past the first round. We can. The only two players on this team that, to me, are untouchable are Brock Faber and 97, if you can get that deal done. And that's it. I think you have to be creative in the sense that, you got to change the the identity of the team, try something new, and go about it that way. That's what I would do, and I hope they're willing to do something like that.
Pat Micheletti on the Connecticut Water Systems hotline. You can hit the Bradshaw and Bryan KFAN text line 64686. Text for Pat. We'll get to some of those here in our next couple of minutes. You mentioned a big shakeup possibly, or a big splash via trade. I'm sure you've thought about options. I'm sure Alex and you, your son, have been texting options for the last couple of weeks. Give us a couple of ideas, or give us a couple of thoughts on directions that might make sense.
Oh, well, I hate to name names, okay?
But
and that's why I said, because I don't think it's fair, and I don't think, I just don't. But what I'm saying is, let's say you have a centerman, and you say, well, we can't trade that guy. Well, what if you can get something back that might be a little bit different? Okay, maybe this guy's really better defensively, but maybe this guy that we're getting can put up 40 some odd goals. Maybe that changes the dynamic of the team. Maybe that gets us over the edge. Maybe I don't need a defenseman that is, can really skate, but doesn't have a lot of size, that's injured a lot. Maybe we can get, someone in there who probably is not going to be as good offensively, but can shut somebody down and can play, 75 to 80 games for you. That's what I'm talking about.
Dumb this down for me, because I'm having trouble with the Rossi problem, where it seems like we like him. We'll pay him this much, but we won't pay him as much as he wants. So we're going to trade him, it sounds like, but we're not just going to give him away. And what other teams have, we don't really like because we think he's better than that, and we want another player in return. But by the way, we didn't play him in the playoffs for whatever the reason, so every other team knows that. Like, do we like Rossi, but not really? And if we don't really like him, then why are we so protective of him when it comes to what we're not willing to take in a potential deal? I'm very confused by the Rossi problem.
I really wish he would have been offered to Tampa for the rights to Isaac Howard, who won the Halvy Baker last year. I think the kid's going to be a stud in the National Hockey League, and I think he landed in a good spot in Edmonton with that trade consummated yesterday and signed the contract, and he will not be at Michigan State this season, thank God. Nice to get him out of the league, out of the Big Ten. But Rossi, really good year.
Yes.
This was his first playoff. Showed okay. Quite frankly, if you're asking my opinion on him, I don't think he's a centerman in the National Hockey League. I don't think he has a playmaking skills. I think he has. I think he has some skill. He's not afraid to be around the net. Which a lot of people, which a lot of guys are. So I think in the right situation with the right players, he's fine. I don't think he's a centerman in this league. I don't think he's a centerman on this team. Why they haven't been able to move him? And maybe they think he's worth more. But if they think he's worth more, then why aren't you playing him here? That's a question I can't answer. Only they can answer. But I don't know. I think if they do end up coming to an agreement, everything will be put behind him and he'll play. I don't think players, once they sign, go into a season with bad blood and all that stuff. I think that gets overblown a little bit. That's my opinion. But it is going to be an interesting month coming up to see what they end up eventually doing with him. I know they don't want to pay him what he wants, and they're pretty steadfast on the number that they threw out there. Do they come somewhere in the middle? I don't know if Minnesota will budge on that, because I don't think they believe that he's worth the amount of money that he wants.
I'm old enough to remember when you would come on the Cake Show and we would unfortunately be talking about Vladimir Tarasenko lighting up the Wild in postseasons. Although I am also old enough to remember when the Wild won a series against the Blues. I was there for Game 6. It was one of the great afternoons ever because it looked like we probably talked on 7th and Kellogg that day, went to the game. I was there with my wife. The Wild were comfortably ahead like the whole third period. It was an absolute party in the X. Simpler times. I think that was 10 years ago because I remember buying tickets with my 9-month-old son in my arms. He's now about to turn 11. So I remember Tarasenko. I'd kind of lost track of him. You hinted at it. You're not in love with the idea of trying to wake up the echoes, but what's the thinking behind the signing here, about a week or so ago?
Well, he can still shoot the puck. There's no question. He was unstoppable. You couldn't knock him off the puck at 23, 24, 25, 26 years old. He just had that strength, and he had that desire, and he had that drive. And then he lost it. For the last 4 or 5 years, he hasn't been able to do it. And he had a bad shoulder injury, and that put him out for a long time. And he came back, and was fine. But the last 2-3 years, he's been last. 11 goals a year ago. I don't know what his health is like now. Listen, if obviously he's going to be a top 6 guy for this team to start out. And listen, you're gonna need 20 out of him, no question about it. Maybe playing with different guys, maybe a different system, maybe he's got a new attitude, and a new focus to his game. That's what we're all hoping for. But you're going to have to convince me, because I haven't seen it in the last 3 years.
Let's pivot, because we got a couple of texts on this, 64686. Who is Gavin McKenna, and what does he mean to Big Ten hockey?
Well, he certainly changed the dynamic of college hockey yesterday, committing to, and he will be the number one pick in next year's NHL draft. They are calling him generational. I've only seen highlights of him, and they are off the charts scary. He is that good. And Terry Pegula, the owner of the Buffalo Bills, the Buffalo Sabres, Pegula Arena at Penn State, that he built, came up with a large amount of money, and Penn State landed him to a figure that I'm hearing is in the $700,000 range.
That's what's been floated. Yep.
Yeah. And, so I think it's great for college hockey in terms of, the competition. If you're someone on the other team, if you're Minnesota, Michigan, Ohio State, Notre Dame, you want to play them, and you want to play against the best. And so it's going to be a big litmus test this year for college hockey and for Penn State. There's going to be a lot of pressure on them. They will be the favorites to win the national title because they have a good nucleus coming back, and they made it last year. And so going to be a lot of pressure on the program, the team, the NIL, all of that, because if they fail, teams are going to say, well, do we really want to spend all this money on these players?
Right.
So it'll be a fun year. I'm glad that he's going to be in the Big Ten Conference, and I can't wait to watch him play.
Well, what's going to be interesting is we've seen how many times have we talked about high-enders.
Yep.
Like, it's great to get them. I remember, this is how old I am, Pat. I remember being at Buffalo Wild Wings in St. Cloud with Bob Motzko, who's coaching the Huskies back then. This has got to be like 06 or 07. And I think the Gophers were kind of going through it a little bit after the national championship years, right? Kessel had come through a couple of years, and, this is probably
down years.
Right. It's probably the Oposo era with Eric Johnson and all these like high-enders, and they're just not winning, right? As much as they were a few years back. And I remember Bob, and I don't know Bob well. Obviously, you text and talk more than people know, but I just remember him sitting there during the break and going, yeah, but you got to take him. He's like, what's Don supposed to do? Not take him? Like, everybody wants him. You got to take him. And we still kind of see that, though, right? Even in college hockey now with all the high-end first-round draft picks that are on really a small amount of teams, they're not always the ones winning the national championship. It's still those older guys. We're seeing it in basketball. We're seeing it in football. Because I think history is against Penn State in a weird way. That they're
it really is, because and look no further than a year ago. I'm at the regionals, and Western Michigan, the eventual national championships, is playing Minnesota State. I'm watching that game. It goes into overtime. I think did it end up going into double overtime, and Minnesota State should have won the game.
Yeah,
in my opinion, they were the better team that night. And was Western Michigan the best team in the country a year ago while they won the national title? But were they the most talented team in the country? 100% no. But what they had grit. They had great goaltending. They had 20 guys. It takes more than 2, 3, 4 guys. You have to have everybody dialed in, everyone thinking the same way, everyone playing the way that your coach wants you to play, and executing. And I go back 3 years ago, and it's still, Minnesota versus Quinnipiac. Minnesota is a much better team talent-wise, but Quinnipiac had that drive and determination and never quit. And they end up winning the national championship. Congratulate them. They're the champs. Were they the best team in college hockey that year? No, I could probably name 3 or 4 others that were better. But guess what? They had that something that drove them to a title. And in college hockey, to me, after watching and playing all these years, that's the conclusion I've come to.
You're the best. It's great to hear your voice. We will see you around the shop. I listen to you every time you're on with PA or Nordo. Keep up the great work, and hopefully I'll see you soon.
Sounds great. Thank you.
That is Pat Micheletti on the Connecticut Water Systems hotline. You didn't argue with him, Brett. I was actually going to say, is there anything you guys need to get off your chest at each other? Because he calls you Jack for Jack Eichel, and I hung up on him. I should have just put him right back on. Anything you needed to get off your chest with Pat, or are you guys in a good place right now?
I think we're fine. By the way, the Jack Eichel thing has aged great. He won a cup since I called for him to come to the Wild, so just wanted to throw that out. But no, it's as long as Kaprizov signs, everything is fine.
We've gotten this text about 50 times today to the Bradshaw and Brian KFAN text line. Give us a Corey Cove update, you cowards, in the World Series of Poker. We will do that when we come back. It's favorable, and I'll ask the question, does the no solicitor sign mean
hot days, humid nights, and non-stop plans? All that heat can increase hair shedding, while a packed schedule can add stress, which can impact your hair. Nutrafol's whole body approach and clinically tested formulas support your hair from within, so you can focus on living your best life all summer long.
Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand trusted by over 1.5 million people. See thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol.
Thinning hair is different for men and women, so a one-size-fits-all approach to hair growth doesn't cut it. Nutrafol has multiple formulas for men and women that are tailored to different life stages, such as postpartum or menopause, and lifestyle factors, such as a plant-based lifestyle, so you can get just what you need. Plus, users of Nutrafol men reported no impact to sexual performance.
Thank goodness. While many supplements rely solely on ingredient studies, Nutrafol clinically tests final formulations to ensure their efficacy. In a clinical study, 84% of men showed improvement in their hair after 6 months taking Nutrafol Men Hair Growth Supplement, and 90% of women saw overall improvement in their hair after taking Nutrafol Women Hair Growth Supplement for 6 months.
Building a hair growth routine is easy. Order online, no prescription needed. Enjoy free shipping, automated deliveries, and up to 20% savings with Nutrafol subscription. Plus, get free naturopathic doctor consults and a Headspace meditation membership.
Start your hair growth journey with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering listeners $10 off your first month subscription, free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com, enter promo code CULTURISTAS.
Find out why Nutrafol is the best-selling hair growth supplement brand at Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code CULTURISTAS. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code CULTURISTAS.
We all know those GLP-1 injections work wonders, but that price tag almost gave me a heart attack when my insurance denied coverage. I was staring at a choice between paying my mortgage or paying for weight loss. Talk about a rock and a hard place. Then I found Elevate Health compounded semaglutide at just $58 with payment plans that don't require a second mortgage. Same medication, same results, but a price that real folks can actually afford. Visit joinelevate.com today. That's JOINELEVATE.com. Your wallet will be as happy as your waistline. This medication is not FDA approved.
nothing?
We've got your shot to win tickets to Summer of Loud 2025, Friday, July 11th. That's coming up at Somerset Amphitheater. See performances from Beartooth, I Prevail, Parkway Drive, and more. Head over to our contest page to see how you can win today. KFAN.com, keyword contest.
Guardsy in for Barreiro today. Pat Kessler will join in the 5 o'clock hour. We have Zach Halverson on the Connecticut Water Systems hotline right now. He has been closely monitoring Corey Cove's situation in the World Series of Poker main event. If you've been listening to the Power Trip, you probably know that Corey has been playing in that tournament. He's been there for a while. I think he even joined some Poker TV bit the other day. I've been following Halvy, following Corey for the last few days. And you might be wondering, well, why is Halvy the one to be giving updates on a situation like this? And I say, well, when there's anything big that Halvy's covering, you have to let him do live updates. How quickly we forget. Is my button bar up?
It's on.
Now let's head to the X for a high school hockey tournament update.
Well, let me make sure he's there. Hang on.
I thought he was there. Oh, he's not even ready yet? Zach, are you there yet? Did you find him?
I found him.
That's outstanding.
Hey, Zach, you there?
Sorry about that. Yeah, I was just in the press conference for Bruce Pland after their 6-5 victory over St. Cloud Cathedral, and they're obviously pretty happy. A heck of a hockey game, the second of two great games here at the X thus far. It sets up a Class A championship game tomorrow between Hermantown and Monticello Annandale Maple Lake. So, Guardsy, Barreiro, it's going to be a
Why don't you catch your breath?
Yeah,
why don't you head to Trio?
Zach, are you all right?
I literally sprinted across the Yale Saber press box.
Is there a medic at the XL Energy Center? Trio Orthopedic Center.
All right, we'll take over from here, and we'll get back to you a little bit later. You catch your breath. We don't want,
I think I'm ready.
You think you're ready now? You think you
Yes, I think so.
All right, well, then
you got a
hold
couple
on. If you're not,
by the way, I
don't.
got an echo in my ear. If you could take that out.
He's got an echo is what he's going. Abbott. It's Abbott's fault he's got an echo, probably.
Zach, are you there yet?
I am there, and I've heard of Christmas in July. I do like Kearney in July as well.
Hermantown?
Always good to hear that.
Yeah, I gave you that minute and 9 seconds just to make sure you did catch your breath. So for the bumper-to-bumper audience that's not maybe living and dying with everything that's going on with Corey Cove in Las Vegas right now, explain what he's been doing and the milestone that he apparently just moments ago just achieved.
So it's the World Series of Poker main event. It's the biggest poker tournament in the world. People fly into Vegas from all over to compete in this thing, and I believe the field this year was about 9,700 players playing in a poker tournament. They all start with the same amount of chips, 60,000, and they play over. By the end of the tournament, it'll be about 2 weeks. So there's multiple day ones, then a couple of day twos, then they all come together in day 3, and we are now at the beginning now of day 4, a week after this whole thing started, and we've narrowed the field down to the magic number of 1,461 players. That is when you go from being eliminated and not having any money at all to getting the cash of $15,000 at the very least. That's the minimum cash. Obviously, everybody wants to continue their play and go into the much higher amounts. But Corey, for the first time after I believe this is his 5th World Series of Poker, he has not gotten to the money. And as of a few moments ago, as you mentioned, Guardsy, Corey Cove will at least walk away with a net gain of $5,000. Hopefully more if he can continue to play as well as he has.
Yeah, it's $10,000 to get in. So thanks to everybody that has gone to initialsgame.com over the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years to help him with that. God knows he needs the money that he now has there. So you've been following this on the WSOP Plus app, I believe. That's where people can watch all of this. Take us through the last day or so, like where he started in terms of chip count, and was it a grind and a sweat to get to this position? Following you, seems like his chip count is getting down right now. It has been a little low, and he kind of had to sweat it.
Yeah, he has some work to do now, but the nice thing is, they're dropping like flies yesterday to the point where they stopped play to make sure that they could get to that bubble and get to that last person to cash today. So he had an up and down day yesterday. We don't get live updates in the sense that after every hand, it's basically every 2 hours how the World Series of Poker Plus app works, which, by the way, this is the first year they've had this, which is awesome. And the old way was literally just to get a printed out report like the next morning. So this is the first year we've been able to kind of track it in real time and see how Corey has done. And he was doing well, and then obviously must have lost a couple of hands. We'll get the full report when he gets back, but he's sitting at 158,000 chips right now. He has had some action on his table, but that is good for 19.7 big blinds, which that's all fulcrum mumbo jumbo. Bottom line is, he's going to have to make some moves eventually to keep playing, but he's at least got some money. But we'll see. We hope to not see him in Detroit Lakes this weekend. Hopefully not.
Heck of a hockey game, the second of two great games here at the X thus far.
So have you talked to him on the show at all about how he's playing? Like, what is he saying about this experience, if anything, so far?
We've left him alone, and
wow.
We've not talked to him quite yet on the show or even off the show via text. I've been kind of wanted to. I'm so nervous because the last time I texted him, he played in a World Series event a couple weeks ago down in Vegas, and I was following him on the app, and I texted him, "Hey, congrats on making the next day or whatever." And as soon as I hit send, that is apparently when he busted out of the tournament. So I've been.
You've lived with that guilt
necessarily, but I don't trust myself texting him about anything poker related.
You've lived with that guilt for far too long. So he joined somebody on Poker TV, and his contention is all of you are rooting against him, and it's a much better bit if he crashes out early and comes back with his tail between his legs. Can you confirm that on behalf of the show, or are you guys happy for him that he's now making a little bit of money and making a little bit of a run?
I think it's a feast or famine situation right now. You either want him to go out on day one and, crazy fashion, bad beat, because it's funny, because it's Corey, or you want him to go all the way so you have another excuse to make another trip down to Vegas and root him on. So right now we're kind of in the lame category. Yeah, we're happy. I guess good. You got your little bit of money, but now it's either get out and get out in spectacular fashion, hopefully, or I guess go all the way and maybe have a hell of a party here next week in Vegas.
So am I to understand that you've spent most of the day just sitting on this app and waiting for it to refresh? Is that how you've been spending your time here the last couple of hours?
Yeah, and they actually have the bubble coverage on Poker Go that I've been watching. So they have cameras out there, and basically what they do is they play one hand on all the tables, and then after that hand is done, they go around to see which tables have players who are all in or at risk of being eliminated. They go to each table one by one and show it. So it's actually pretty drama-filled television because you get to watch people just narrowly miss out and end up losing $10,000 instead of having a $25,000 swing there. So they are heartbroken men, and it's fun to see the heartbreak and the elation, of course. That is the World Series of Poker. So
what have you checked? Who's in the chip lead right now? What's the discrepancy from where Corey is at 1,491 to number one, number two? The people that are leading, that are in a good spot here as they continue to move.
Well, Corey's at, as I mentioned, 158. The leader right now is Chad Power at 2.1 million. So just a little bit of difference in chips there. But one player I will point out, Juliet Haggis, she's been kind of in the lead. There's also I lost the name of the player. Don't have it on me, but Celine Dion's son is one of the leaders in chips this year at the World Series of Poker. So rooting him on as well because his mother obviously did very well in Vegas in her residence, and perhaps her son can do pretty well for himself. We'll see.
Renee Charles Angel?
Yes.
Okay. We're happy for him. Yeah, it's about time that kid had something go right for him. We're happy for him.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for fitting us in between refreshes.
Hermantown.
You've always done a great job of chronicling big events for us. This is no exception. And good luck on the power trip tomorrow as you guys try to talk through Corey's day.
Thank you very much, sir. Have a great rest of your day.
That's Zach Halverson, the fans correspondent on the Connecticut Water Systems Hotline, with the news that the morning show's Corey Cove is apparently cashed at the World Series of Poker main event for the first time. He will earn $15,000. It's a $10,000 buy-in if you have the means. So he has netted so far $5,000, although with his trips to Canes, I would say it's probably closer to $4,250.
Box is back on KFAN. We have 9 chances for you to win $1,000 every weekday. That's every hour from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. For instance, the keyword for this hour was money. Keyword money, KFAN.com, keyword money. To know the keywords and learn more, head to KFAN.com. Bonus Bucks is presented by BigDeck.com.
Does the no solicitor sign mean nothing? Am I fooling myself? Are we fooling ourselves at our house when a couple of months ago we added the no solicitor sign to our door? I remember back in the day, we always used to be excited when people would ring the doorbell. The doorbell would ring. We would all be like puppy dogs. We would run to the front door to see who it is. Could it be one of our friends? Kind of going back to the story we talked about in the first hour of the show. Like, to hang out with friends back in the day, a lot of times you had to call their house. Hopefully somebody answered. Or you had to just walk over, knock on their door and say, can Brett come out and play? That's what you had to do.
Or you see where all the bikes are laid out across the lawn, and that's how you figure out where everyone is.
Also a good tell.
Yeah.
Now when the doorbell rings, at least I do, I don't know if everybody's like this, I scatter like a cockroach when the lights have been turned on. We have a split level house, and so people can kind of see into our living room as they're walking up the driveway. And as the doorbell rings, if I'm sitting on the couch, I basically hit the ground. Say, I don't want anybody to know that I'm here, even though my Lexus NX from Lexus of Wyzetta is in the driveway.
Lucky.
They know I'm home, but I'm not going to get the door. And I don't know if it was like the third or fourth time. I think what it was there was somebody that had come to the house, and I answered. Or maybe I was out front. I can't remember. The kids were playing. And it was for somebody that had a solar energy bit, and they wanted me to sign up for their solar energy deal, and electric companies are in on this, and your bill's going to go down like 5,000%, and we're actually going to pay you to turn the lights on, like this whole thing. And to kind of just get rid of the guy, I said, well, yeah, okay, I'll put my info in there. That's fine. And then it got kind of weird. He's like, well, we do need a bank account, and you can cancel at any time. I'm like, no, I'm not doing this. And I finally said, I'm done. I'm out. We're putting a no solicitor sign up. Don't ring the doorbell. Don't knock. Don't do anything. Just leave us alone. I respect the people that have to grind and go door to door. It can't be fun because in 2025, nobody's excited about you being at their doorstep like we were back in the day when you could tell us about a great way to save $40 a month on our garbage. Or have you heard about fiber optic internet? Do you have it here? What do you know? I know everything they're doing is because they have to. It's their job. But I can't deal with it anymore. So we put up the no solicitor sign. Don't think we've had any issues until last night. A tree company comes to our door. Everybody's home. Lights are on. TV's on. We all know that they know that we know that they know they're coming. And he rings the doorbell. And he rings it again. And he knocks. And he knocks. And my kids and my dog are now all over the place. They want to know who it is. They want to know what's going on. Could it be our neighbors? No, it's not. And I'm just curious for people that do have to go door to door or people that have had the no solicitor sign up for a while. Am I fooling myself to think that no one's ever going to ring my doorbell or knock on my door again just because I have put up on the sign, no solicitors?
Well, obviously not.
Have you ever had to think of something so controversial like this?
No, thankfully I haven't. I've been in the situation where I've had to go up to a house and then look and be like, oh no, I'm not gonna go up to that one, especially if they have a doormat that says like, we will fire on the premises. That's where you got to really get the hell out of there.
Yeah, beware of dog.
Yeah, that's another bad one too. Thankfully, no one comes through the apartment place and starts knocking on doors, but I would not be happy if that's... Yeah, you respect it that they have to do what they need to do, but if you see the sign, it's the same thing. Like, you ever been trick-or-treating and the light is off?
Yeah.
But you don't realize that it's off. So maybe you knock or ring the doorbell once, and then you go, oh no, I've made a terrible mistake.
Right.
I felt like I've done that before when I was a kid, and I felt terrible. I hightailed it out of there. It's either A, they didn't know, or B, they didn't care. Either way, you're inconvenienced.
717 text. Guardsy is a walking, talking advertisement when he hosts the show. It's kind of remarkable that he slides those in as effortlessly as he does on the fly. Text line, local establishment, iHeart, etc. He will rabbit tail to rattle them off without skipping a beat. Along those lines, my friends at Kaufman Roofing will never knock on your door. That's one of the things I like about Kaufman Roofing. There's a reason why they have lasted for nearly 100 years since 1930, because when the storms come through, a lot of people are going to be knocking on your door. Kaufman Roofing will not be one of those people. That's why I like working with them. They're not going to bother you while you're at home with your kids and your dog.
What if you're just so annoyed by all these people knocking your door, you just want to get out of town? You just want to leave and be done with it.
Well, hopefully I'd have a little bit of lead up because I could go to mspairport.com and pre-book my parking. And the earlier you book there, the more you save. So you can still save a lot by pre-booking it at mspairport.com, but it's better if you have a little bit of lead time because you can save more money. And then I would know that my car is going to be safe there. I don't have to worry about grinding for a spot.
What if you run to the door to get rid of the solicitor and you trip and fracture your ankle? Is there a place you could go to maybe get that fixed up?
You could. Now, specifically, I'm talking about Mayo Clinic for prostate cancer and prostate care, mayoclinic.org/prostate care. But as the big knocker will tell us tomorrow, they have specialists in everything, and they could absolutely help you with everything that you do. Getting a lot of tweets about the solicitor in general. In Minnesota, a no solicitor sign is illegally effective in most cities for preventing commercial solicitors and peddlers from approaching your property. Many city ordinances explicitly state that if you post a sign with sufficiently large visible letters near your main entrance, solicitors and peddlers are not allowed to knock or ring your doorbell for sales purposes. Violating such a sign can be a misdemeanor in some cities. Now, I don't want to get anybody arrested. They're already on the grind. Again, going door to door cannot be fun. No one's excited to see you. No one is just waiting by their door going, man, I hope a different garbage company comes to my door today to tell me how they can cut my bill by 25% and have the cans here by tomorrow. Nobody's waking up with that dream. So I respect the work and I understand the work, but we have everything we need. You're not going to surprise me with anything. And by the way, I switched garbage companies once because somebody came to my door. It worked out great. I think I switched again when somebody else came. Like, they do serve their purpose from time to time, but I'm just trying to figure out if there's a better way. Dave in Illinois says he goes door to door selling meat. No soliciting is meaningless. Put up no trespassing signs. I also don't want to do that because then I'm the grumpy old guy with the no trespassing. I don't feel like you're trespassing. I just don't want to go. I just don't want to get. I just don't want what you're trying to sell.
You're already trying to get rid of pickleball. You're halfway there. Just put up the no trespassing signs and we'll be fine.
And the biggest problem right now is, like I said, my kids are obsessed with it. Like, if somebody comes to the door, they run like the puppy. Like, they want to get out, and it's just, then you got to rally them. You got to corral them. Used to be they'd be sleeping. That's where it really would annoy you, is when you have a young kid, you have a baby, and someone's banging at the door at 2 p.m. When you finally got them down for a nap, you pried the iPad away from them for 5 minutes to get them to sleep, and then somebody rings the doorbell and wakes the whole house up. That's the problem. Keep the text coming. A 763, why is every small inconvenience a controversy? It's not, but we had 6 minutes to talk about it, and it bugged me last night because that's the other thing. What's the proper amount of time to loiter if you're the solicitor before you take the hint that these people are not coming? Like 1 ring, 2 rings, a ring and a knock, count to 10, Apple, and then go? That's what the problem was last night. Rang the doorbell, knocked again. Just leave the information at the front step, and if we want it, we'll follow up with you. That's how a friend of mine's mom taught me that trick years ago. Said, look, I don't make any decision without my spouse. We like to go I'm not going to sign up. I'm not going to sign anything right now. I'm not going to sign up for anything right now. If you leave the information, I'm happy to look at it and go over it and give you a call back. That's a passive-aggressive Minnesota way. They don't like that because they need to get you signed up, right? They need to get the iPad going right there, fire you up, and get you on your way to saving 25% on your electricity. But I have, though, gone back after getting the information and saying, I like this, I want to learn more. So I do honestly try to make an effort to take a look at it because maybe they are going to save me money. But how long do you loiter? How long do you linger? That's the other thing to figure out. Anything for top 5 you want to bring up before Pat Kessler joins? He might join for the top 5 at 5 too if he comes by.
Believe it or not, we have not hit the quota on a Justin Guard hosted show for PJ Fleck Talk, and we'll get that quota filled.